So I'm gonna try something new here. So I have been I've played Age of Empires for a decent amount of time, never really online or competitively. So I figured it'd be interesting to do a series about my games and my sort of going up, hopefully improvement, and you can kind of track it over time. Hopefully I get better. So just as proof of concept here, so I've only played 3 ranked games. The first one I got obliterated in, but for some reason the replay is corrupted or something, just for proof of concept. So that because I won the other 2 games that I've played, but I lost this one. So just so that people know I'm not just trying to avoid showing you my losses. I got ham blasted in this game. Who knows? Maybe it'll actually load this time. That would actually be really funny. So this was my first attempt at a multiplayer game, in ranked at least, a ranked multiplayer game in Definitive Edition. And there you go. So it just I don't know what happened, but I got obliterated. So that was my first attempt. I got obliterated. So we'll go for my second attempt, and yeah, that's gonna be we're just gonna do one game on each of these videos. I'm not gonna play a ton, but just might be an interesting case study. I'm gonna try and analyze my own gameplay and also the gameplay of my opponent. Hopefully, this is useful for other new players to see, because I'm sure that I will probably commit similar offenses to other new players. So, my first game here, it's going to be on Team Islands. I'm going to play as the Goths, and my opponent is going to play as the Japanese. So, I picked the Goths because, I've played, most of my time playing has been on the HD version, which is the previous version that's on Steam. And before I started playing this, I've been playing that with some friends more. So I had played online quite a bit as the Goths recently. And so basically the thing that most people say, when you look at, what people say about what's the best way to try and improve in Age of Empires. Very often they say something along the lines of pick a civilization, get comfortable with them, sort of learn how to do them, and just roll with that. And so Goths are who I had been playing as quite a bit recently. So at this point I decided, even though they're not really a good water civilization, I decided to just play as them here anyways. So I'm going for a fairly basic fast castle. At least I'm going to attempt to. This is not a very clean fast castle. So there we go to our first wood. And then my opponent, I'm not totally sure. He's going to beat me up the ages a little bit. And he is going to try and get some Japanese fishing going. He's going to end up building a dock up here. Though, I think he might have been better off, because Japanese fishing is so good. He might have been better off trying to build docks off the back, at least one, and just doing fishing off of the back. But he does not do that. So, yeah, anyways. So first off, my build order is a little screwed up here. This is the first time that I played online. Or the second game that I had played online. And so I end up only with 3 on wood here for a lot of this, which is going to slow me down a bit. But yeah, so we're going to speed through this first bit. Overall, it goes okay, though. My build, or I guess I have 4 on wood. So my build order is a little bit out of whack. So I researched loom there instead of a little bit later, which ideally you do. Then you see I've got some idle time here because I don't have all of my sheep. So they end up just chopping wood, which once again, not ideal. So my build order out the start is a little bit sloppy, which is something that even since this game, so I played this game like, I just found some of my other sheep, by the way, finally. So if you look at my Fog of War, my scouting is not the best, although that's a pretty tough place for sheep to be, because even though they're not that far away on the other side of the wood line and such. But even though this is my second game, and then I only just played my 3rd ranked game, this was a couple of weeks ago, and I played quite a bit since then, mostly against the AI, a little bit with some of my friends, but when I play with my friends, that's on HD, because they do not have, or at least not all of them have Definitive Edition. So my starting build order is a little bit smoother now, which we'll see in the second game, but yeah, and so you can see that my opponent has already docked. I have not. And I think that there's a degree to which my opponent kind of blows that. Because, so with his fishing ships, he should be stronger on water at the start. I'm not sure why he decided to fish all the way up here instead of at this one that's closer by. But anyways, he does get to see my, he does get to see where I am earlier. We're going to switch our score over to this so we can keep track of the villagers. So you can see I've got a slight advantage in the villager count right now. And then I'm luring my second boar here, which goes decently. Yeah, we'll just speed up again until we start to get some stuff. I just found the last of my sheep now, which is obviously not ideal to only be finding my other sheep at this point. I also don't take advantage of any of the hunt that's out here. So there's a lot in either area, which as Goths, obviously Goths get a bonus versus, not a bonus versus, their hunters can carry more. So that's probably something I should have taken advantage of, but I don't. So you can see, so he is taking advantage of the fish. I have not yet at all. We're both almost identical on our feudal age times here, and we have the exact same population. So we're both going with a pretty similar build here out of the gate. Obviously, he's relying pretty heavily on his fishing chips out of the gate. I obviously have no fishing chips. And the only reason I've still got sheep is not because I have more, it's because I just got them so much later. The downside is I've only got 4 on wood, I've got none on gold, so we're not going to have that fast a castle time. I'm not sure, I don't remember which person it was that said this was a fast castle, but I much prefer the other version of fast castle, which I do later. So anyway, so I send them out to food, send a couple more out to wood. Once again, so we're doing decent here out the gate. House myself, which is a big thing that newer players I know, obviously include me. So one thing with this series, when I say newer players, at least for now, very much is going to be including me. So, yeah. And once again, my scouting, I've pretty much got my whole island scouted at this point, which is good. But I should keep my scout moving a little bit. Other than that, though, we're doing okay. And I'm finally building a dock now. But this is where I think that my opponent kind of blew it to an extent. So he's got 2 docks, and he got to feudal age about the same time as me. He could have very easily taken over all of water here if he had been a little more persistent about his producing ships, basically. But he just makes the one fast fire out of the gate here, and not anymore. Instead, he actually added another fishing ship. And he did make a transport. Oh, I missed that. So this is a transport. My scout actually saw the transport ship initially, and then I thought he would come further back here. So I sent my scout somewhere down here. Yeah, down here. So I thought he was going to come down here, and he ended up landing up there. So he did make a transport instead. But so once again, he's only got just the one fire ship, which I don't really agree with. So he lands here, and he's got a barracks up. And so I know that he is trying to land, but I don't know where. So we can turn on Fog of War. So once again, I did see the transport ship with my scout, but now I don't know where he ended up. I thought he was going to loop around this way. Obviously, he didn't. So that's what's going on there. So he's got a barracks up and he's got a stable up. And then he's going to use these guys just to chop some wood there, which is smart. And then he invests pretty heavily into a force here, which is smart. This is a good job by him. But once again, so now you can see I'm starting to build some fires, and I've just got them in my dock. Once again, you can see he's got the resources that he could be producing more ships if he wanted to. He's just kind of choosing not to. So instead, he sends one fire ship up to start attacking my dock, which obviously, you know, I'm not totally sure what the idea was behind this. My reaction to this was actually correct. I think I played that correctly. Did I finally see? Alright, and I sent my scout up here, so now I finally saw that he's got stuff up there. So I know he's up there. So I start producing out of my barracks now. So I'm producing some men-at-arms there. And I also pop out my fire ships. And this one actually just like, he was attacking, just the animation screwed up. And then I also get his fish. So yeah, I think it was a little bit bizarre of a move. I'm not totally sure what he was thinking. I understand that he wants to produce these scouts here, but But scouts are obviously all food, so you don't need food to produce, fire ships or galleys. So he's got plenty of wood. He's got a decent amount of gold. So I don't know why he didn't produce more ships. He had 2 docks before I had any. So seems like it would have been a good thing for him to do. And he also just lets me kill his scout there, which isn't ideal. But anyways, he's coming in with his scouts now. And I don't see them. I know that there's probably going to be something coming. I think I reacted overall to that whole situation pretty poorly. I should have gone on the offensive. But he's going to do pretty well with this. Also, once again, letting myself get housed, another classic issue. So, as you can see here, I also docked off the bat, kind of like I said I thought he should do, so I can do some hopefully safer fishing. But he, for some reason, attacked the dock. So I now know that he's got scouts back here. And there they are. So I've got some men-at-arms instead of spearmen, because I saw his barracks, so I was more worried about... so I decided to go men-at-arms instead of spearmen, because obviously spearmen really wreck scouts, but men-at-arms will still do pretty well against scouts typically until you get them upgraded to light cavalry. And so this screwed up. I don't know why it pathed to have them go all the way around here, because you can actually fit through here, I think. But anyways, that's going to end up costing me a little bit, because he's going to get up in here and get to do some attacking. Fortunately, I have so many villagers on wood when I really don't need it, that I'm going to be able to... I don't react fast enough here. I do eventually. So yeah, so my men-at-arms just walk through. So I don't know why they didn't try to path that way in the first place. So my men-at-arms are here, and then I just get my villagers to turn around and fight back, and we're going to end up being able to clean this up. This one I fight off, I don't kill. So that reaction, I was slow, but not terrible. Also, before, I think I was referring to the resource I was referring to mine, but just to hammer it home. So once again, you can see he doesn't have a ton of gold, but he's got plenty of wood. So I don't know why he isn't just put some more villagers on gold. So you've got, I think that is just a 3. So you've got 3 villagers on gold. Put a little more on gold. You've got plenty of wood, and start producing more ships for yourself. I'm not sure why that's not the answer here. So he's got a couple more scouts, but he decides to send them back. So his initial push, I think I reacted slowly to, but overall an okay reaction to. And I now have a pretty clear advantage on water. I don't even realize he has another dock here. And once again, I did kill his scout that was sitting right there. So now I've got a pretty clear advantage on water, which once again, I think he made a pretty bad mistake in letting me gain. Because once again, he's got plenty of wood, he's got gold, and instead of also garrisoning into the dock to try and get some numbers up before sending them out, he's just sent out a couple of fire ships one at a time, and obviously they got cleaned up right away. So, yeah. So we're in an interesting situation where he's already landed on my side and has a bit of a base set up here, but I now control water, so he's going to have trouble sending help there. Another thing, ironically, so I'm going to end up marching these guys up here in an attempt to find his stuff. And I'm going to end up seeing that he's got the stone wall, and I just assume that he has a stone wall on the other side and actually make a pretty big, what I think at least is a big mistake. So I'm committing pretty heavily to water, by the way, as you can see. Once again, I'm housed again. That's a big thing I'll have to work out. So I see now he's got a stone wall up. Somehow I miss that there's, a gap here that I could have just walked through. And I pretty much look at this and I just give up and leave after hitting it a few times, which really actually incredibly stupid. So first off, once again, there's just a gap here. So I could have just walked in, killed these villagers, cleaned this up easily. Even if there wasn't a gap here, I could have kept them there, had all of my fire ships join in on this, and we could have broke through that actually pretty easily. And once again, he's just got 4 villagers here. He didn't have any other military here. And once again, I can see this now because I've got ships up here, I had military here, so that was really stupid of me. I could have pretty clearly cleaned that up without too much of an issue, and I just chose not to. I'm not totally sure what my thought process was there. So, yeah, and then I have my fast fire ship, well, not fast fire ships, they're just fire galleys, I guess, up here, and I'm going to fire down that barracks, and then I'm going to just leave. So, once again, I think that was a pretty big mistake on my part, but on the plus side, we are producing well. We're starting to get some military up, and the town center is not staying at least too idle. So I think that's the main thing that I'm doing well in this game, is I do a good job of producing, which I know that, from watching videos of other people and, higher level people talking about things that they think new players do poorly, is oftentimes not producing. The worst thing that you can do is just not produce. And I also decided to try and go on the offensive. So for whatever reason, I decided I can't push this, even though I clearly could have. So I decided I'm going to go on the offensive then. And for some reason, I only get 3 on that ship, which I'm not sure why I only got 3 on that ship. And then I send my fire ships back up here. Once again, I should have attacked his fish there, but I just didn't see it. But I'm going to start landing over here. And he does not see this landing either. So if we go, at least I don't think so. So if we go here, yeah, so he doesn't know that this landing is coming. Now he sees it. No, he doesn't see it yet. He sees, so I decided I'm going to have my fires attack his houses. And this is going to actually pay off. I'm not sure if this is something that higher level players do much, but I've typically found that it's often worthwhile if you've got nothing better to do to just attack houses, because you never know when you might house somebody. Also, you can see he's really invested into water on the back. He's fishing pretty heavily, and he's got some fire ships up. And here comes my guys now that I've landed, and I'm going to get some kills on him on this stone here. And we're just basically going to start being a pest. And the idea is, while I'm Goths, I can produce cheap infantry, I can produce it faster. So we're just going to start sending over some infantry here. And as you can see here, oops, I am on his point of view. As you can see here, we've now got 2 villagers. The idea being we're going to build some barracks over here, and we're going to just start to try and flood him with some infantry. Obviously, the Gothic infantry flood gets really strong in the Imperial Age, but it can still work early on. Even though it's not really meta in the highly competitive games, but you can still do it early in the game because they are still cheaper. And of course, they get the bonus damage versus building. So that's the idea here. And once again, I think in terms of what I'm doing well here is, even though I've screwed up quite a bit, once again, I should have just pushed this. He also, as you can see, beat me to the castle age by just a little bit. So you can tell we're pretty even players, realistically. So the villager count is dead even. He killed a couple of them on that scout rush. I killed it 1 or 2 right there. So this is a really, really a close game. We'll get up the score. I'm just barely ahead in the overall score. But once again, my infantry is going to start to get in here, and we're going to start to get some kills and give him some issues. The one thing is, I have too many resources right now, but I'm waiting for these to get up, and now I'm producing out of them. Not out of that one yet, but I'm going to start producing right away. And I think, once again, I think that's the one thing that I do here that's going to end up setting me a little bit apart from my opponent. Is, so you can see, so I've got I've got quite a few resources in the bank, but I'm producing right away. I've got some guys back home. I'm producing out of these barracks here. I've got more ships and such, so I'm really going hard at making sure to use my resources. And we've got guys attacking at various places. Should have gone after that villager instead. Oh, right, there's a pikeman there. And we're just going after his houses, just trying to be a pest, basically. I know, obviously, you're not going to push a town center with men-at-arms and spearmen, but you can still be a pest. You can kill some villagers, you can destroy some houses, that kind of thing. But then if you look at my opponent, so he's got all these resources, and he's not producing hardly anything. He's got nothing coming out of there. He made 1 monk to pick up that relic. He did make a few fire ships that he's now sending around. Other than that, I mean, he's not producing out of any of these docks. He doesn't even have... He's got a barracks here he's not producing out of. He's producing a few pikes out of this one, but that's it. And once again, I'm destroying some houses. And as you can see here, actually, I am on the verge of having him housed, which, once again, it may not really be meta, but especially, I think, in lower level games, it can pay off if you are able to. If there's nothing good to target, like you don't want to go near the town center because your guys can't fight under it, just attack some houses, man. I also end up picking up one of his sheep, which is actually kind of annoying because it's kind of getting in the way of me. Yeah. So we end up destroying this house, and he is now housed, as you can see, because I just destroyed 2 houses. I should have stayed on that one to get that, but I also see he's got fire ships up here now, in numbers. So, yeah, I think right now, you look at all the resources he's got. There's really no reason for him, so you can see he builds a couple of siege workshops here. There's no reason for him not to just build either a couple of archery ranges or a couple of barracks and just produce something that can keep me from just walking around at will. The one thing that's a little bit different that I'm doing is I've got a lot of longswordmen, which is really not in the meta. So I almost wonder if this is a case of, and as you can see, his fire ships cleaned up my fire ships pretty easily there in the end. So we've now swapped back to where I have lost water, and I'm gonna remember that I've got these barracks here in a second. I'm gonna produce quite a bit more out of them for a little bit before they go down, but I'm gonna have pretty much these longswordsmen. And then this is another huge mistake from him right here. He ends up letting me push him all the way out of his town center. His villagers are all too far away, so they don't get into it, and now I'm able to just push his villagers all the way, get him off all of these resources, which is obviously a big issue. And now he doesn't have a second. He doesn't have a second town center. He's trying to get more houses up because he's housed. And he's going to lose all of these villagers. And ironically, I'm actually going to get him unhoused by killing a bunch of his villagers, but that's not ideal. And once again, if he had just stayed near his town center, he's got just one person in there. Obviously, longswordsmen cannot really fight under a fully garrisoned town center, but because he ends up sending so many of his villagers away, it works. Does get a couple of scorpions out, which is ideal. In a perfect world, that's actually a good counter to mass longswordsmen, but I just got too many of them, and he doesn't, and he's only got 2, so it doesn't really matter. Then I'm going to come up on this wood line, I'm going to clean up these villagers as well. But here's the thing. He's decided he's going to push over here, and he's building a castle. So this is not over yet. So he has taken back control of water. He's almost got my barracks down, but the downside for him is I do still have more villagers up here. And so once again, all the infantry I've got over here, we're just trying to basically be a pest. We're destroying a dock here. I don't think I even realized yet that he has all of those docks at the back. Yep, I see one there, but I don't see any others. So I'm attacking his dock here, like, oh, well, we'll screw this fishing, that kind of thing. And once again, you can see, even though I've got more wood, I really need to take some off of wood and put more on food. I've only got, I think that's 11 farmers, which is not nearly enough, really, realistically. But I'm continuing to produce, more or less, which is an advantage here. Definitely. Although at this very moment here, he should have killed my villager here because he had 2, but he leaves that one standing still. He killed off one. I'm going to be able to hunt this one down, and then I'm going to be able to use this one to build some more barracks on his side of the island, which is a mistake for him. Instead, he decides to just mine more stone. So, yeah, and I'm going to build a few barracks up here, and we're going to continue to just use this infantry to try and basically just annoy him, destroying buildings. I don't realize that he has totally given up the fight on this island at this point. So he's got this villager mining stone. But other than his fish, he's actually got nothing else left anywhere on this island. He's got no other villagers. These are his only villagers now. So I think he's trying to now get enough stone for another... See, so he's got enough for another town center, for instance. So why is he not... So he's finally building one now, but he's had enough for a while. So there's really no reason for him not to have just built another town center. He is producing out of his castle to build some of these. Like, he hasn't upgraded his scouts to, like, cavalry. There's really no... It's just a little bit of a misuse of some of his resources. Obviously, I've screwed with him quite a bit. I haven't destroyed his market yet, actually. So there's no reason that he can't get this. So I've had some fire ships in my dock. You can see I used my transport ship to distract his fires there. I did lose a transport ship, but that ends up giving me the edge. Some elite micro by me, if I say so myself. And then I'm able to gain control back of water, which is going to be important shortly as he gets ready. And you can see he's got to build houses because he's housed, because I've destroyed so much. But once again, I don't realize that he's doing this over here because he's done nothing from up here. So I actually kind of assumed that he'd just kind of been like, oh, that's enough of that. But it is not the case. And here he comes into my base with samurai and scouts. And this is going to be trouble for me, because I'm focusing over here, trying to make sure that my guys are staying attacking stuff. Little do I realize that I don't need anything over here at all. and he is in my base in a bad way. My spearmen obviously can scare off his scouts because they're not upgraded, but those samurai are, spearmen and longswordsmen are not going to cut it against samurai, obviously. The one thing that he does, I do have in my advantage, is I've gotten a lot of the blacksmith upgrades, and I don't think he's gotten hardly any, actually. If we pause it here and we look at his tech tree, so you look at it, so he's got scale mail armor. That's the only upgrade that he's gotten for himself. So he doesn't have any of his attack upgrades, only one armor upgrade. So he has not gotten a lot of his upgrades. Meanwhile, I don't know exactly how many I got. We can check here. I have all of the feudal age ones. I've got fletching, I've got forging, I've got my next attack upgrade. So that is one advantage I've got. But overall, samurai, even with that, samurai are going to be too much for some spearmen. And he's going to kill all of my military here, which is obviously an issue. So now this is like kind of panic time. I've got a lot of military, but it's all over here. I've got a lot more military than him even, but I can't use it. Fortunately, I have one backwater, but I've now got to try and micro my way out of this. So I basically do a panic castle drop. Really was actually a bad idea to even try, because once again, I've got no military over here to fight this. So he's going to stop this for now, at least. His samurai, they're going to kill my villagers. So really just a bad idea all around from me. He also brings a monk with him. The only good thing about this is it keeps him distracted enough that some of my villagers are able to keep working. But yeah, so that was just a pure panic castle by me. Wrong decision all around. And once again, he's going to just really wreak some havoc on my economy. The one mistake he really made right here is he let his monk get killed by the town center. Should have just had his monk out here. But he converted a villager, so he's going to be able to start taking some stone here. I'm not sure why he decided to take stone, but he does. And here comes more villagers. And you will notice, oops, wrong one, that he's got 762 stones. Once again, I'm not sure why I decided to take more stone, but he's now going to drop a castle right on me. This is another reason why building that was a bad idea. He actually takes some shots from my town center there. And once again, I just reacted very poorly to these scouts. If I had reacted properly, I would have realized, oh, these are just normal scouts and they got no upgrades. So my villagers could have actually just fought back and done decent damage, but I don't even do that, even to just do some damage before they die, and I lose all of those villagers. What I do have, though, is I did manage to make a couple of transport ships, and we're starting to bring our boys back. We're massing up here. We've also got some... I've also got some spearmen in the barracks ready to pop out at a moment's notice. But once again, the production, okay? So I've got spearmen getting produced here, which are now out. He just stopped producing samurai. He's got the gold for it. He doesn't have a ton of food, but he has some food. Why he didn't make a barracks and just like start produce, or an archery range, produce archers. You've got plenty of wood, you've got plenty of gold. He just basically stopped producing here. So I'm getting over here desperately trying to stop this castle. I've got such overwhelming numbers, I'm able to kill his last few samurai. But unfortunately, I cannot get through. Oh, I can get through there. But the castle goes up, but he doesn't have murder holes. I basically just took a guess that maybe he hasn't researched it. I don't think I've seen a university, and he hasn't. So this castle is actually not going to be able to fire at me at all. Which is funny because if you watch T90's videos or any other really high-level player, they regularly make fun of noobs who get murder holes. Well, here we are. He didn't get murder holes, and so this castle is going to actually be useless. And he finally produces a few more samurai to try and come up here, but it's not going to be enough. I've got my attack upgrades. Goths get bonuses versus buildings, and the castle just isn't able to fire. He's still killing some more villagers, which is helping. Once again, I'm still doing this very messily, but I've also now got a castle going up of my own. He does have a couple samurai. For some reason, he decides to try and run over here instead of attack my villagers, so he runs a samurai into all of my military, and they're just outnumbered by way too much. I get my castle up. It's going to shoot his samurai there, and then he is going to call the GG here in just a moment. There we go. So first off, man, it's too small. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Also, it's Negro at the end, which I'm not. Yeah, we're not going to even try and pronounce that. But props to him, he was very cordial when we first started. He said, let's just have a fun time. And he said GG and said nice landing. So very, very cordial, very fun game. So I think for him, the main mistake is just not enough production, really. So once again, so we end the game, and there was no reason they couldn't have made those samurai earlier, built a barracks or built an archery range, anything, even if you don't have any upgrades on some archers, just send those guys over here, just keep some sort of production going. And yeah, I think that was a big thing. He also didn't get any of his upgrades, so I made several mistakes. Most notably, if I just pushed this game would have been over much sooner. If I just walked in here when I could have killed those 4 guys, I could have destroyed these buildings pretty quickly, and then this game would have been over almost as soon as I got that second landing over here. Instead, I made this much more perilous than it needed to be. So for my second game, things I did well. The main thing I think I did well is that I played fairly aggressively, trying to get over here, land troops, build barracks, stream troops in, and I continued to produce. It wasn't always the most targeted producing. I probably overproduced over here, didn't leave enough at home because I didn't know that these guys were up here. I got housed several times. I didn't have enough villagers. You can see ending the game with only 23. I had more than that, obviously. We can actually go to the... yeah, so my high in villagers was 52, which is obviously not enough. Now, this game did not get to like the super late game or anything like that, but I needed more villagers. I needed a lot more of a lot of stuff, but I did mostly continue to produce, which is obviously a big plus. So you can see here, technology. So he researched almost as much stuff as me. I think he just researched the wrong things, honestly. So you look at what all did he research. So he didn't get any of his infantry upgraded at all. But, yeah, so he didn't upgrade any of his infantry at all. It just kind of... Oh, I think it doesn't work now that the game is over. It's probably all confused. Yeah. So he didn't get enough upgrades, I think. That was a big thing. That was an issue for him. And he should have just kept producing. If he had just continued to produce here and continued to flood me, even if it's just with trash, even if it's with, unupgraded archers or whatever, if he continued to put pressure on me, I would have had a lot more trouble coming back the way that I did, because that was really my last-ditch effort, because I didn't have, and I still had a decent amount of resources, but not a ton left, so I think he could have played that better. So overall, actually a really fun game to play, and he was very cordial about it as well. And yeah, so that's my second game. This is the first one that's going to go up on the channel, and we will monitor my progress from here. I've got one more game that I've already played, and that's it. So after one more game, they will all be ones that I've played after this. So yeah, hopefully you stick around for the ride. Thanks.